The morning sun spilled golden light through the wide windows of Marlene's diner, a modest but lively place tucked in a corner of the busy downtown area. The air was thick with the scent of sizzling bacon, butter melting on hot pancakes, and freshly brewed coffee. Plates clattered as servers weaved through tables carrying steaming meals, their smiles warm despite the morning rush. Near the entrance, at a small table close to the door, sat a boy. His name was Noah Carter, a 14-year-old with dark brown eyes and a quiet intensity that made him seem older than he was. His elbows rested on the chipped wooden surface of the table, his fingers absently running along the edges of a laminated menu. He wasn't really reading it. The words blurred together as his hungry gaze followed the plates being carried by servers. Golden fried chicken, mashed potatoes dripping with gravy, and thick slices of buttered toast. Noah's stomach cramped painfully, but he ignored it. The folded bills in his pocket weren't his to spend. He had worked weeks collecting that money for his mom's birthday. Odd jobs after school, skipping lunch some days, and saving every last penny. It wasn't much, but it was supposed to buy her something special. Something that said, "I see you. I know how hard it's been." And yet here he was, sitting at a diner, pretending he wasn't starving while he waited for his best friend, Micah, who worked in the kitchen. Micah had promised him leftovers after his shift. Noah could wait. But then a sharp voice cut through the warm hum of conversation like a blade. "If you can't pay," the voice barked, "you can't eat here." Noah's head snapped up. He wasn't the only one. The diner quieted, forks suspended halfway to mouths, conversations frozen mid-sentence. At the far corner of the room, near a window, a scene was unfolding. A large man with a red face stood over two elderly customers. His name was Frank Dalton, and he was the owner of Marlene's. Years of running the place had carved permanent scowls into his features. His thick arms were crossed, his broad shoulders blocking the light as he loomed over the couple. Noah squinted. The woman, dressed in a faded blue scarf and neatly pressed blouse, clutched her purse to her chest. Her husband, thin and frail, patted down his jacket and trousers, panic tightening his features. Their names, Noah would later learn, were Margaret and Charles Jennings. But right now, they were just two people in trouble. "We had our wallet," Margaret said, her voice trembling. "We must have dropped it, maybe in the taxi." Frank sneered. "Oh, sure. Heard that one before." He turned to the other diners, gesturing toward the couple with a sarcastic flourish. "Let me guess. We lost our wallet. Maybe we should all chip in, huh?" A few people chuckled awkwardly. Most looked away. Noah's nails dug into his palms. Margaret's husband, Charles, spoke up. "Please, if we could just step outside and look." Frank cut him off. "No, pay now or get out." It wasn't just his words that made Noah's stomach twist. It was the tone, the sneer, the way Frank said, "You people," under his breath, but loud enough for anyone to hear. It wasn't the first time Noah had heard someone say that. Probably wouldn't be the last. Noah's heartbeat pounded in his ears as he pushed back his chair. The scraping sound it made drew every eye in the room. He walked forward slowly until he stood between Frank and the couple. "That's enough," Noah said, his voice steady, though his hands trembled. Frank turned toward him, eyebrows raised. "Oh, great. We've got ourselves a hero." Noah didn't back down. They didn't mean to lose their wallet. Frank laughed, short and humorless. "You got proof, kid? Planning to cover their bill?" Noah took a deep breath and reached in his pocket. His hand closed around a wad of bills, every cent he had. He pulled it out and slapped it on the counter. "Now you don't have an excuse," he said. Frank stared at the cash for a long moment. Then he grabbed it and stuffed it into the register. "Fine," he muttered. "But don't come crying to me when they scam you." Noah didn't even look at him. He turned to Margaret and Charles, who stared at him with wide eyes. "You didn't have to do that," Margaret whispered. "Everyone needs help sometimes," Noah said quietly. She scribbled something on a napkin, her phone number, Noah assumed, and pressed it into his hand. "Call us, if you ever need anything." They left. The diner slowly returned to its usual rhythm, but Noah stayed frozen in place, the weight of what he had done settling heavy in his chest. That was his mother's birthday money. Gone. Noah sat back down, staring at the napkin with the number. His hunger was sharper now, not just in his stomach, but in his heart. He knew he'd done the right thing, but right didn't fill the hollow ache inside him. 15 minutes passed, maybe 20. Noah reached for his phone and knocked the napkin off the table. As he bent to pick it up, he noticed something under the opposite booth. A wallet. Black leather, worn at the edges. He pulled it out and opened it. Inside was a photo of Margaret and Charles Jennings, smiling in front of a small white house. It was theirs. Noah jumped to his feet and ran out of the diner. He scanned the sidewalks. The couple was gone. With no better plan, he made his way to the nearby police station. The officer on duty took the wallet, eyeing Noah carefully before nodding. "We'll try to return it," the officer said. "What's your name, kid?" Noah gave it and walked home in silence, the emptiness in his pocket and his chest growing heavier with every step. When he got home, his mother, Elena, sat at the table, stirring a cup of tea. She looked up at his face and frowned. "What happened?" Noah hesitated. Then he told her everything. When he finished, Elena was quiet for a long time. Finally, she reached across the table and took his hand. "You gave them all your money," she said. He nodded. She smiled, tired but warm. "That's the best gift you could have given me." Noah wanted to believe her. But that night, as he lay in bed staring at the cracked ceiling, all he could think about was how he had nothing left to give. The next morning came too soon. The oatmeal on the table was thinner than usual. Elena's smile was strained. Then came the knock. Sharp, firm, unexpected. Elena opened the door to find Margaret and Charles standing in the hall. "We had a feeling we'd find you here," Margaret said with a kind smile. They explained that the police had called. They had come to return Noah's money, but also, they said, because they wanted to offer something more. "We're not just an old couple who lost their wallet," Charles said. "We're very wealthy," Margaret added softly. Noah's jaw dropped. He stared at them in disbelief. "You gave everything to help two strangers," Charles continued. "That's not something we could ignore." They offered Noah and his mother a fresh start. A new home, better schools, work for Elena that paid fairly. Stability. Noah's throat tightened. He thought of the past months, years of struggle. And now, these people, who owed them nothing, were offering them everything. "Why?" he asked. "Because we can," Margaret said gently. "And because we should." Noah turned to his mother. Her eyes were wet. She cupped his face in her hands. "You don't have to carry this alone anymore," she whispered. Noah swallowed the lump in his throat and nodded. "Okay," he said softly. Margaret smiled, and Charles nodded. "Then let's get started." If you were moved by this story, join us in sharing meaningful lessons and moments of kindness. Hit the like and subscribe buttons, and turn on the notification bell to never miss another inspiring story.